Welcome to the Rocky Road Podcast, brought to you by Rockbusters, with your host, Dennis Wager. Dennis is a best-selling author and an expert in demolition, rock, and concrete breaking, as well as a professional blaster. He is also president of Rockbusters Incorporated, along with his son, Brian. On the podcast, you'll hear exciting stories of how these challenge types of rock and concrete jobs are done. You learn about the uses of expanding grout and explosive devices. But furthermore, you'll hear about some of the hurdles and struggles entrepreneurs and business owners have had along the way, how they got started, and how they broke through the obstacles and found the path to success. Along with that, some insight for young people and people wanting to get into the industry. So listen in. I hope you enjoy the show. Now, here's Dennis Wager.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. I want to introduce you to Yazmin Soto. She works with us here at Rockbusters, does an amazing job, and thanks for joining us, Jazz.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here with you today.
Nice. So yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate that. So why don't you start off with telling us a little bit about what you do here and some of your background?
Sure. Well, I'm from Mexico. Hi to everybody. I'm from Mexico, and there I have a marketing degree, and I used to run a business with my family. It was a gift store. So I was really happy, but I was feeling like I wanted to do something else. Like I wanted to try something new and to prove my knowledge and all the things that I could do. So my boyfriend and I decided to move here to Vancouver. I arrived like 3 months ago, and I have the fortune to start working with you right away. So in here in Rockbusters, what I do is a bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like your assistant manager, I think. I'm learning about logistics. I do some administrative stuff, and I'm trying to do some sales. And
come on, you're actually very, very good at sales.
Thank you. I've been having some learning moments with you, so I really appreciate that because you teach me a lot about it, about the importance of listening to people and getting to know what they want or what they need. I think that's the most important thing.
And exactly. I mean, that's what stands out for me is that day, I think it was not long ago last week, where you had such a kind of a low morning where you were making all these cold calls, which, everybody just hates cold calls as a rule. And then people were actually, some were rude to you, some were hanging up on you, and some were just not interested. And then you called this guy and then he actually said, "Hey, are you cold calling me?" And you said, "Yeah, I am cold calling you." And then he's like, "Oh, wow, well, that's perfect timing because I actually need you guys." That was crazy. That actually just got us a job right there. Yeah. So really, I'm very proud of you for being persistent and keeping it up because, like it really takes only one to say yes, right? And most people, a lot of people just kind of get all frustrated and give up after a few no's. But some people also think about it like, hey, every no I get is one call closer to a yes.
Yeah, that's what happened. So
good for you. And yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I think that the hardest part of these calls is that in this business, I'm working with, or I have to deal with a lot of men, and it's not like I've been rejected or something. But I think like it's not as common that they receive calls from a girl because my voice is like from a girl. I think I sound like a young person.
Yeah.
So sometimes, thank you. So sometimes I feel like they are like a girl is calling. What's happening? what is you're working with rocks or something? And now that I'm getting more confident with these calls, they actually listen and they are grateful that it's like a common situation. Like they are feeling more comfortable because I'm feeling more comfortable, and I think that is what is getting me closer to each movement and to another sale. So I think that's the most important thing, to learn about it and to listen to your advice and everything. I think that's great, and I'm pretty happy. I think like I'm getting more confident even with the language, because when I came here, I know how to speak English, but I was having some troubles. So I think the people can notice that when you are more confident about the language and expressing yourself, they notice it even by phone.
I think so too. You know, and I've traveled quite extensively, and it's one of the things that I pick up in most countries where there's a different language is that even if you try a little bit to speak the language, then they're way more receptive and willing to help you.
Yeah.
I think it's the same here, right? So what
Yeah.
are some of the top things that you would say, to people that would be, foreigners to our country and wanting to jump into sales or something like that? What advice would you give them?
Oh well, learn the language. That's the most important thing, because I've met a lot of Mexicans. Well, I know there are a lot of people around the world in here, but I know a lot of people that come in here and they are like, okay, well, I'm looking for a job, and I'm like, yeah, well, you can speak English, and they are like, no, I don't speak any zero English, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what? And why are you here? What how do you think you're going
Yeah.
to communicate
Yeah.
with others, or what do you think you're going to do? And they came like with an idea about the I know it's like the American dream, the Canadian dream, because we've heard since a lot of years that Canada is beautiful, that the people is amazing, and that's true. But if you can't communicate with others, how do you expect to receive that gratefulness of the country? I don't know if that's
Yeah.
correct, but
Yeah, exactly.
so that's like the main thing that I will say to others. Like, try to improve daily your abilities, your skills to communicate with others, because that's a good way to start to find another opportunities. Because I think that if I wasn't um, like that persistent with our first interview, for example, I think you wouldn't hire me. I wouldn't be here. But I tried to express myself all however I could. But I tried to communicate and to explain what can I do and what we can get to do together. How can I help your company? So I think that's the main important thing. If you want to come here and to find great opportunities, you will, but you have to start learning and other things. Also, I think like studying new topics, for example, having courses. Currently, there are a lot of Google courses or some other apps that help you. And I think that's another point like to put in your list, because I have a bit of background of marketing and sales, but I've been trying to know more about this business daily. I've been looking to YouTube videos, and I also ask you some questions daily. So I think that's the most important thing, that you know that you don't know everything, but you can learn daily with a bit of improvement.
Yeah, exactly. So anything else that you would say other than the language that would help people find success in sales?
Um, Listening to people and really trying to be patient. Like, stop thinking about yourself. Like you told me before, what do? You already know what you can
Mhm.
offer, but you have to listen to what others want, what they are looking for, or what they want to achieve, even if they are
Yeah,
not
I
selling
agree.
rock. Yeah.
I agree with that 100%, because like for me, what I find is like I already know what I do, and I can tell you or anybody what I do. But what's important in a conversation is this kind of, I look at it like a teeter totter, like one person speaks and then stops speaking, and then the other person speaks, and then it's your turn to listen. And it's really in the listening of others that you hear what they want, right? And yeah, like some of the rejection calls were like, okay, I'm just not interested, but it doesn't even mean necessarily not interested forever. maybe they're just not interested right now, or maybe they're busy because we're actually just calling them out of the blue. They don't know who we are, right?
Yeah.
But, if you start to have a conversation with people and then they say, hey, I do this kind of work, or, for us, like, what we do is we do some research, like we'll find the company, we'll, look at their website, we'll explore some of what they do. And if there's a fit, we can see a fit and an opportunity. It's really in the opportunities, right? So
Yeah.
if you can talk about that and you can say, hey, I see you do this kind of work, you're a home builder, or you are a tunneling company or a construction company, do you run into this kind of problem? And just let them answer. If they never ever do in 100 million years, okay, well, I guess just have a good day and, thanks for taking my call. But 9 times out of 10, everybody runs into these same kind of problems. Everybody that's excavating finds boulders. Everybody that's trying to put something somewhere, hits rock, or you're remodeling and you need to take out some concrete, or you need to cut a door opening, or whatever the case may be. I find 9 times out of 10, most people want to have a list of who to call, a list of their favorite contractors, people that they like, or even if they don't know you, but just to have a name available, say, so if they run into this kind of a problem, hey, I can call this guy and he's going to help me.
Yes. That's what I learned yesterday, for example. I didn't tell you, but I was making some calls, and like 2 or 3 guys were like, well, currently I don't need your service, but call me in 6 months because maybe in summer I will have something for you. So I was like, okay, I will try to remember your name, but that's the thing.
Right. And even if we just get their email and then put them onto our list for marketing, and then they can get our newsletter or whatever we put out, then we start to be fresh on their mind, right?
Yes, that's true. And for example, something related to this that I want to mention is that, for example, in Mexico, we don't have like this kind of I don't know, like to listen to people when you are calling for sales, because in there everybody is in a rush. For example, they are always working, they are always doing something, and it's not like the same routine as in here. So in there, I was used to, like, if you call, you have 1 minute to say everything, because if not, they will hang up. Yeah, so that's why.
I found that. Yeah, I found that very interesting, and I like to learn that about different countries, like Mexico, but also other countries, because with what we do, we're trying to get into other countries. We're in the U.S. a lot, and we're in Canada, obviously, but I do want to get into Europe and the UK and Australia and other countries like that, maybe Mexico. So it's really important to kind of see, like, hey, can we fit in there? Is there a fit? Like what we look for is places that have rock and there's activity as far as construction and people wanting to build or for some reason need to remove the rock or concrete. So that's where the culture, is important to learn, right? Because it's maybe the way that I sell doesn't work in Mexico. I don't know. I've never tried.
Yeah, well, I think it will work. But in Mexico, we also have like a lot of people that knows how to build houses or something, even if they are not architects, because we have like that kind of culture in which sometimes you don't have the money, or you don't have the machinery, or I don't know, even the money you don't have, and you need to find out how to build your house and where to live.
Yeah.
So most of the people, sometimes what they do is like they buy a faraway place to build their own house. So that's what they do. They learn about plumbery, and they learn about building houses, and they learn everything, and they do it themselves. So I think it will be a good fit, but with bigger companies. But I don't know. Maybe if you go there and you offer your services with the correct introduction to the marketing, I think it will work, because I think what we do is super interesting.
So I'd have to improve my Spanish before I did that, I'm sure.
Yeah. But you already know some words.
I know some words, yeah.
Yeah.
Not all good words.
But you will be able to maybe make a podcast in Spanish soon.
Yeah, that's a good goal, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to talk about is how you've gone about making these great presentations, because a lot of the presentations that you've created, I mean, we do them together, but it's your artistic side that's put together the presentations. That's actually won us a lot of jobs as well. And I think I really love that because it sets us up a step above the rest of the crowd. I don't see anybody, not that it's not out there, but for the most part, I don't see most other companies going to that extra mile, where they're doing presentations with videos and pictures and renderings of what the property could look like when it's finished, or what we're currently starting with, along with an estimate or a cost breakdown. So maybe talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, in Mexico, as I already mentioned, I studied marketing. So they teach us a bit about graphic design, but I think most of it's because I get to know your company, I get to know your brand. It's important that every company has its brand quite definite. Like they know what they want to show to the people, because when you already know what you do and what you want them to see, it's easier for, well, I don't know if for anyone, but for me it was easier to project that into each presentation. Even if I didn't have a lot of information, it's easier because you already have your designs and you already have an idea of what you want them to see about your company. So I just put some of my creativity in there. I try to live my heart in everything that I do. I love creating things in the computer. You already see that I'm not as
Mm-hmm.
good as other people's making videos or something, but I try to get to the point in which I feel happy about it, and I feel like if you put all your intention and your heart into everything that you do, it's easier that the people get to like it because you are
Mm-hmm.
really focused on it. You are really trying to make it work. And I think that's the good point, that you are trying to make it work. Also, you are giving me all the information and all the tools to make it done. So I think it's a common, it's a group work
Mm-hmm.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I like that, and I really like the feedback that I get from people that we present to. Like they, even if the presentation is a half an hour long, like they're very engaged and they're very like happy to sit and watch it, and also many people are thankful at the end. Like at the end, they're like, "Oh, that was so great," and then I'm going to forward that to my boss, or I'm going to send it to this person. And in one case, we just did a really nice presentation for a job uh, in Deep Cove, and it was for the contractor working on behalf of the property owner, the homeowner. And then he was like, "I'm going to just send that to the homeowner so that she can see it." And it just puts it a step above, because I feel like with having that second person in the middle, like the contractor, you have one party trying to explain to another party who's going to re-explain it to the property owner, right? And a lot of stuff can get lost in translation. Whereas just having a really proper professional presentation that you can send in an email, they can watch it on their own time, and it's very, very self-explanatory. With the videos and the cost breakdowns, etc. And we can show like, this is, taking out this much concrete. We expect this to take, 1 to 2 days. And then here's this excavation, which we expect this to take, a 1 week, and so many truckloads to come out and so many truckloads of gravel to go back in. And we price it just in unit prices, like per load or per hour. But we also wrap it up with a knowledgeable idea of how long we think it's going to take. And we'll put it into a range of costs. So people are not surprised with a huge bill at the end that they were not expecting or ready for. And they have an idea going in. So they can say, okay, that's too much money. I don't want to spend that. Where can we shave some costs? Or the opposite is like, what more can we do to give us a better finished product? So they have the choice in the process. And I think what I do is I try to just show the customer through a means of media, my thinking and my thoughts and what I see and what I am expressing to do for them, right?
Yes, and it's great because they are feeling like they are being listened, like
Yeah, they're
their
being heard.
opinion
Yeah, that's right.
is accepted. Yes, so that's great. And I think that's what I like the most. When you come and tell me like, "Hey, you got it," or "You did a great job." They congratulate us because of this presentation or something. Like that's what makes me happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, me too, and I appreciate you saying that. But that makes me happy too, because everybody, we're all in here for the same thing, right? Like we want to get work, we want to make money, and making money revolves around providing a service. So it's like, how do you be as transparent as possible so that you can provide a good service for the customer and fit into the budget that they have in mind? I mean, sometimes it doesn't fit into the budget that they have in mind, because hitting rock a lot of times is a big surprise. Like nobody goes out and thinks, oh, hey, I'm going to do an excavation, and oh, wait a minute, there's all these big boulders and I got to pay extra money to get rid of them. But it's like, how do you express, what needs to happen to keep them going, right?
Yes.
And I think people appreciate that.
Yeah. One of the things that I like the most is that I've learned a lot of things about rocks that I wouldn't expect. Like,
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
I don't know, it's crazy. Yeah, because if you look at me, I'm not like a girl that seems to know about construction or something. And now that I'm getting into that topic, it's really interesting. And I didn't know how much effort do you have to put into just breaking a rock, because it sounds easy, and once you're doing it, or once you see how someone is doing it, you are like, oh, so that's how it's done. And
Yeah,
that's what you do. And I don't know, maybe it's a good way to show people, because they can also validate, not validate your work, like they can also see how much effort you have to put into it. Like it's not that easy, and it's not a cheap work, like sometimes maybe the people is like, oh, I would just want to get rid of that drug, but you don't know how much effort you have to put into it. So it's great
yeah,
that they can
exactly.
see all of that work.
Yeah, especially with blasting, it's very expensive because of the fact there's so much involved. There's so much regulations. There's so much insurance requirements. And even with the pre-blast surveys, which is like a house inspection that is required, different zones or radiuses in different countries or states or provinces. Um, but here in BC, it's a 50-meter radius around any blast area. So that means you have to do an inspection on every home or structure within 50 meters. And that could be $15,000 or $20,000 before you even hire a blaster. And in San Bernardino, California, I understand it's 1,200 feet, which is 10 times more of that. So it's more than that amount of money. So you're going to be like a huge bill. You're going to have a huge bill before you even look at blasting. That's why blasting is kind of working its way out. Like it'll always be the go-to for like gravel pits and aggregate and so on, and for huge jobs or like jobs where you have lots of space around. But it's becoming more and more mainstream to do alternatives to blasting, like with our expanding grout, with the hydraulic splitters, or the boulders, the way that we do them now with the pneumatic splitters. And I like what you were saying there about the work that goes into it, because we can do certain things with splitting. Like we can actually, spend a bit of extra time and split them into more usable pieces, right? We can take them and we can split them into like flat chunks. We can split them into cubes. And then the rock becomes valuable again. So it's almost like, you have to put in a certain amount of money to get it done, but you can put in a bit of extra money and then get some return back for it. It's kind of like when I remodeled my kitchen. I thought, okay, well, I've got to spend X amount, call it 20 grand to put in a fridge and a stove and, the appliances. But if I spend 30 grand or 25 grand, I could get the high end stuff. I can get the pop up vent. I could get some, high end like stainless convection oven type of thing, right? So I looked at it like, really, it's not the 20 grand or the 30 grand. It's the difference between what I have to spend and what makes it nice for me. And for me, like if I'm going to spend an extra $5 or $10,000, it's worth it because you get to enjoy it. Like if I was to put in just a low end stove and fridge, it's like, okay, so what? I'm just going to go cook breakfast, big deal. But if I'm putting in the high end stuff, it's like, oh wow, look at what I got now. I'm going to enjoy this, right? Same with rock. You can make some really, really cool things out of rock. You can carve it, you can polish it, you can, do amazing things with it. It takes a bit of extra time, which is a bit of extra money. But the beautiful thing with rock is it's for a lifetime. You do it, you cut it, you polish it up, and it's not going anywhere, right? You might have to clean it, but it's going to live on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. Well, with what you were saying, it's like I feel like it's for a lifetime. It's a job for a lifetime, and it's great that you are doing this and that you are showing to all the people about the blasting and everything, because I didn't know how much permits or this is crazy because in here you need to ask permit for everything. It's crazy. In Mexico it's different. You can do whatever you want and nobody will notice, just your neighbor that will maybe go and join you to the party or something. But it's crazy how
there's a lot to deal with. Yeah. So what advice would you give to young people wanting to get into this business? What would you tell them?
Well, I will tell them to save money because it's not cheap to buy all the machinery, but I think it's the persistence on the things you do and in every business. But in here, I think like you can, it will sound like a hippie thing, but you don't know all the rocks. You don't know all the things that are on the earth. So you have to take your time to study or to know that rock that you're going to blast or break. Because even if you have all the machinery, if you don't know what you want to do or how can you do it, you will not be able to do it correctly, or you will spend a lot of money and you will have it done, but maybe you can do it in an easiest way. So try to learn all the days about this. Try to, for example, ask for advice to experts about the topics. Try to look for videos on YouTube. Try to achieve new things, because right now I notice that you want to buy bigger machineries, bigger equipment to have another jobs done. So I think that's the important thing, to try to have goals daily to what you want to do in everything.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, that's awesome. So again, thanks very much for joining us on the show, Jazz. I appreciate that. You're doing an amazing job, and happy to have you on here.
I'm happy to. Thank you. I'm really glad to have a boss and a friend like you, because it's been a great company in here. That now that I'm here as a new girl in Vancouver, it's great to have someone to talk with and that teach you new stuff daily. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank
you.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you would like to be a guest on a future episode and tell us your story, visit our website at www.rockbusters.com. If you have a project and would like to learn more about our products, or if you're interested in partnering with us and becoming a distributor, give us a call. Thanks again. We appreciate your support.